finale of Lex Write About It. I'm your host, Lex J, and I am excited for y'all to be joining me for this last episode of LWABI. Before we dive into this episode, I just want to say, y'all don't know the joy that last episode brought me. Shout out to Stina for making that a great tribute to my hometown, Dallas, Texas. That episode really warmed my heart, and I hope y'all listen to it because it was lit for sure. Okay, joining us today will be special guest Roy P. Roy P. is from West Palm Beach, Florida, and has served 20 years in the United States Marine Corps and is a leadership, resilience, and fitness coach. He leverages his life experiences to inspire his writing, coaching, and storytelling. Bringing on my cousin boss, my dirty, Roy P. What it do?
Yeah, good. I'm glad to be here. To all my Florida men and women out there, what's good?
Yeah.
You know, represent. Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's a great honor to be sitting here with you on your podcast. And, you know, and watching your dreams and goals come to fruition, man. I really like it. It's cool, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we talk about it all the time. So it's nice to be in this space.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it a lot at work. And in case y'all didn't catch that, this is my boss, but we call each other cousin more than we say.
Yeah,
you know,
so I don't like that term, boss. You know.
Yeah.
You hear that? Yeah. People call you a boss, make you want to, you know what I'm saying, low key make you want to slap them on your boss. Okay. Okay. We catch you in the park and watch the sun go down.
Yeah.
We're gonna see what's good. You know what I mean? Yeah, but y'all don't like that. My family, my cousin. You know what I'm saying? You know how we do.
Yeah, real talk.
I really appreciate you, man. And I appreciate Arielle in the background.
Oh, come on, shout out.
You should not say my government name. What's wrong with you, boy?
Alright. Well, it's going to be a long episode, so let's get to it, yeah? Alright, we have a few questions just to, loosen you up a little bit, to get into the groove of things. Tell people how you came up with your pen name, Roy P.
You serious, man?
Yeah. How you come up with
telling people that? Alright, so there I was in West Palm Beach, Florida, with some other, at the time, Florida boys, and we sit in my front yard, and we were young, and so everybody in our little clique had a nickname. You know, you had Black, you had Bucci, and Kenny Mayne, you know, but it was me, my buddy Irvin, and Cassius. We didn't have nicknames, so we was thinking, okay, what's gonna be our names, all right? And my name is Roy Parksmore, and since I was young, my teachers used to call me when I used to come to school and daycare. They used to call me Roy P. I was like, okay, that's gonna be my name, okay? And my buddy Irvin, he was like, okay, I'm gonna be Mr. Irvin, and my buddy Cassius was like, okay, you're gonna call me Cashmore. So now we came up with our names. However, and this is the tricky part. So how do you make a street name stick? And it's kind of funny. So it's okay. So listen, we gotta go get in fights. We gotta go get in street fights. And when you get in a street fight, somebody yells your name, and then it sticks. Oh, it's not. But you gotta be winning though. Can't be getting swung on. And somebody call your name. It's like, oh yeah, you got swung on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for over the next. Yeah, pretty much. Over the next month, and it's not that we was picking on people. We just waited for somebody to disrespect us. Because typically we were mild tempered, and just like we would brush things off. But now we need to establish ourselves. So we just waited, and it always happens. You ain't nothing. You this, you that. Well, what's good? Then say something. I'm saying, do something. You ain't pop, 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 pop. Oh, it's not a repeat. Then it was start. Then my buddy Cassius was on the bus. Somebody running his mouth to Cassius. Hey, Cash, move, go swing on him. Swung on like the bus stop. Irvin get off the bus, swung on another dude, and it's just like, yeah, and boy. So that's how I got my name. You know.
The fighter, Roy P.
So,
Out there fighting.
You know,
He's a changed man, ladies and gentlemen. He don't fight no more.
No.
He's a family man now.
Yeah, I'm a lover and stuff.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. So, what inspired you to start writing?
You know? Anger. Because I'll tell you about how I was raised. So my dad raised me with an iron fist, right? And initially when I started writing, I filled up a notebook completely, front and back, with poems, and they were vulgar and angry. It was like that was my outlet, putting them on paper, and I gave it to one of my deans, because at this time I was kicked out of public school. I was put in a private school. I was going to a Christian school where I started reading the Bible. I calmed down a whole lot, and my perspective on life began to change. However, I needed an outlet to get rid of that anger. So I started writing, and I gave it to the dean, Mr. McKenzie, and he read it, and I came back to get it one day, and he was like, I said, did you read it? He was like, yeah. I was like, can I have it back? He was like, no. I said, why not? He said, I bet you can't write one better. Now, at this point, all my anger has been released. So now I'm at this point of serenity. So I became very, well, I wouldn't say I was able to tap into my love, my empathy, you know, the lighter, brighter side of myself. So I wrote another one. And it was full of love and admiration, you know, and I just became, in that moment, I just became a writer. And then again, I wrote another book, and I told you this story, right? Yeah. And the kicker to it is, so I wrote another book, front and back, a notebook, 80 pages, so it's like 106. No, it's 200 poems, because I was taking napkins, anything I wrote, I put in there. I joined the Marine Corps. I was all cupcake, you know. Met this woman, and I liked her, and I gave her the book for her birthday. 2 years later, I found an editor. This guy in North Carolina, I think I was. And he was like, yeah. He said, I introduce you. We can edit it. We can make it into a paperback. And so I called her. And I said, hey, you still have it? And she tells me she hasn't seen me in 2 years now. She tells me she threw it away in a fit of rage because she was thinking about me one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, cool, got it. And it's like, and so that's how I lost it. And but the thing is that ability I had to write when I was younger, I think it came from a place of innocence, because I was able to write very easily just by meeting people. I was able to write. Then I came into the military. I began to travel. I began to learn who I am. I began to understand the world in a different way. I began to understand myself in a different way. And to this day, I can still write, but I don't have that deep sense of love that I once had. And I think that's what enabled me to do it. You know, I had a deep sense of pure love.
Yeah.
But traveling in the world, having different relationships, meeting different people, you, not just me, I'm just saying this in general, you will find yourself giving away your love in hopes that it will be reciprocated. And refueled. But when it's not, and your love is gone, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I began to learn at a young age. It's like, well, I wouldn't say it's something I learned, but I think it's something I began to understand. I don't personally believe that human beings are capable of an infinite amount of love. It's almost like when you love with all your heart and that relationship goes awry, you can't do that again because of memories, because of the trauma, because of the pain, things of this nature. Not to say you can't love, but when you dive deep into your heart and pour it all into someone, you can't do that consistently. You can love people, you can continue to love people, you can continue to want people, but a level of love that you were able to muster up in your younger years, as you become more experienced, you become older, you can't do it again because you're running out of love. And at some point in time, either one or two things happen. You either understand that you run out of love, and then you start to taper off on how much love you give out, and you turn it into a love marathon instead of a love sprint. Or you don't understand that you're running out of love, and you're running aimlessly through life like a dumbass. Looking for love in all the wrong places, and you're not necessarily loving anyone. You're simply infatuated with them. But you've been running aimlessly for so long that infatuation feels like love because that's what you're associated with. So in a very existential way, my inspiration for writing was love. Damn, never thought about that till you asked me that question.
Love. Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't even expecting that one.
Neither was I.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is what our conversation always go like that.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking, it's like, we go into a space to where it's like, we start diving deep into ourselves and, coming up with solutions and answers to questions that we never thought of.
Yeah.
It's like the purity of that moment, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that was my inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, lover boy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
how do you plan to make a difference through your poetry, or like in your case, like your writing, or just your knowledge, just period, like whether it be writing, poetry?
So eventually I do, and I believe I can, because God gave me the ability to do it at one point in time, and I don't feel like He took it away completely, but it's right lying dormant within me. I just need to unlock it again. So I do plan on writing a poetry book, and I still, in my mind, I want it to be a coffee table book, something that's maybe 95 to 125 pages that sits on a coffee table. You can look at it, send letters to your loved ones and things of that nature. But I also, over the years, because of the racism, hypocrisy, bigotry that I experienced while in the military, I was forced to become a leader. And at the time, I didn't understand what leadership was, and a lot of people still don't know what leadership is, but it was either had to put myself in a position where I had to follow them, or put myself in a position where I was able to be appointed and given authority over them. And I did that by becoming a leader. So I also intend to write a leadership book for parents, because in this day and age, you look at the world, look at the children, there are so many parents that don't want to raise their children the way they were raised, because their parents or our parents, they were raised different, and a lot of us grew up with something called an ass whooping, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people disagree with it because they don't, a lot of individuals can't differentiate between, you know, a spanking and abuse. So therefore, like, you just don't do it at all. So now, you know, and you know, that the spankings thing, that was the easy button. And so now, being that that's not the norm anymore, now the parents have to be leaders. And the parents don't know how to be leaders. So you see a lot of parents becoming friends, calling their children buddy, pal. It's like, and then when the child is disobedient, when the child doesn't listen, the parent I don't understand why I can't control my child. I don't understand why my child won't listen to me. Because in your child's mind, you're not a parent. You're not an authority figure. You're a friend. Which means everything you say is optional. You may rant and rave and all these different things, but that situation, you created it by choosing to be your child's friend. Now, when your children grow up into their 20s, things of that nature, by all means, that's when you become a friend, because you spent the first 18 to 20 years of their life raising them and teaching them and developing them into the person that they need to become in order to become an integral part, a pillar of society. I get that, but there's a lot. I see a lot of parents right now with their children, and they don't know how to lead their children. And it's, you know, it's just, and me personally, it's mind-boggling because of the life I live, and my experiences in life is very simple. And I remember when Shanique was pregnant with Sydney, everybody was like, they used to ask me, "Are you worried about being a parent? Parenting is hard?" And I used to tell them, "No, it's not, man. Being a parent is not hard." When, in my experience, I dealt with adults that would go out and do something illegal, do something wrong, and when I ask an adult, "Why did you do that?" they would tell me that I call it the $1 million answer. Mm-hmm. Now, when a child does something, and I ask a child, "Why'd you do that?" and the child tells me, "I don't know," I can accept it from a child. Guess what? That child doesn't have the wisdom and experience of the world. That child only knows what that child knows, which is a very limited amount of information in a confined environment. So now, what are you looking at? This child isn't being disruptive. This child isn't being bad or misbehaving. This child is exploring. This child is trying to learn. And instead of turning those situations into teaching moments, "Oh, my child is so disruptive, my child is this, my child is that." Why don't you take a breath and take a step back and get out of your world and get into theirs, you know? And so the world or America needs books on parent leadership. Not just parenting, but specifically parent leadership. And I think that's my niche. Well, leadership in general is my niche, but I think writing to parents and explaining to parents, this is how you lead and develop a child. I think it'll help a lot. So to answer your question, that's how, through writing, putting my knowledge on books and this podcast, you know, that's how I intend to help influence the world and give back to the world.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Circumstances change while others remain the same. A curvature of events make us who we are, who we want to be. Not always the case. Take us where we want to go? Hardly. People come and people go. With each one, we gain or lose a part of ourselves. Progression or regression, you decide. Do you really? Or do you try to survive mentally? People are born and people die. Emotionally attached to our perception. Physically attached to the moments. Hearts break and hearts mend. Love, lust, or trust. Choose one. Compromise is how we manage. Regardless of the damage, we want it. We need it. We crave it. And damn it, we live it. Life. Ain't it grand? Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, facts. First and foremost, I want to say, when you first told me that you was writing poetry, I was like, nah. Just like looking at you, this big, strong dude that's been in like the Marine Corps, military, like all this. You just, I write poetry.
Yeah.
Nah, no, you don't. And I think this is the first piece you ever read to me, actually.
Yeah.
And
I went and got it. I was like, okay.
Yeah. You was like, hold on, I'm gonna show you. And I was like, whoa, like, hold on, you was really writing. Your pen was penning a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a smidge. Just a smidge.
You know? And that's all it takes, though. You know, it don't take much, but a smidge to write something very meaningful and impactful. To like carry you such a long way, because you wrote this like how long ago?
3 years, 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago. Jeez.
Yeah, and it's like, how much of this can you still apply like to today?
All of it, man.
Right, like, and that's all that matters. Like when you sit down and that pen or that pencil connects to that paper, it's like, okay, am I about to write something that's gonna mean something, or am I gonna write something that I'm not really gonna care about in the next 2 minutes? Mm-hmm. And either one is fine, because it's like, whatever you need to release it, you know?
Yeah. But
it's like those moments where you have that you write a piece that carries you on until year after year after year, you're like, that feels good, you know? You have that moment of like, wow, I wrote this, and even when I have these moments, I know I can refer back to this moment, read this piece, and then I'm either good or I'm not. And if I'm not, then next step, you know, next solution, you know, what else can I do? So, yeah, I think a smidge is just the right amount. You know how Black people, when we cook, we don't really put like a certain amount unless we have something that we need to really follow instructions by. But if not, then it's like, a a handful of sugar, you know. It's like a smidge of this, a smidge of that. So it's like, a smidge carry you a long way. And I love this piece because, like how you say you wrote it like 4 years ago, and like even me reading this right now, I didn't know you 4 years ago. You know what I mean? I just met you last year, but even now, today, this fits, you know, not just your life still, but it still fits my life. Like I'm reading it and it's like, hearts break and hearts mend, yep. You know, and it's like, just because it's not always romantic heartbreak, like people go through heartbreak, you know. Last year I went through some pretty tough heartbreak, and it wasn't romantically, but it was like friend after friend after friend, you know, like heartbreak right there, you know. So it's like everything that you're saying in here is like somebody can pull from this and say like, wow, I can connect to this. And I think like that's really what I was aiming for in this podcast, like for people to come on and share their art, be vulnerable, but also, you know, leave just a little bit of a piece for somebody else to come and say like, hey, I connect with that, I relate to that, that resonates with my life. Okay, I could take this and this can help me along my journey, you know. And I think that's the first step to this, to building community. You know, we talk a lot about building community and helping our own before extending that arm, that hand to, you know, someone else. And it's like, no offense to them, but it's like, we're the only community or one of the only communities where it's hard to get us to work together,
Yes.
you know. And so that's also something that I want to build with this podcast as time goes on. It's community, just people helping out, listening in, joining in, even if it has nothing to do with you. Like some people may think like, oh, pain has nothing to do with me, but listening to this first season can literally change another person's life.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. So it's like, that's what I want this podcast to be, community. And I think this is the first step, having people come on and share their art, but also create that space for someone to say like, I can apply this to my life, Thank you for helping me.
Yes.
So yeah, I appreciate that.
It's all good, man. I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
What state of mind were you in when you wrote Life?
I remember that like the back of my hand. I was very sad, man. I was really, really sad. There were different things happening in my life simultaneously. My personal life, it didn't have like as I grew in the military, it became after a while, the one thing that became challenging about the military was the personalities, the people. The person, like I had commanders or senior enlisted individuals. They gotta make it amazing or make it drastically terrible because they're underhand, they backstabbing. It's just terrible, man. It's just like in the private sector, but you really don't expect it in the military because everybody's indoctrinated, everybody's trained a specific way, and the expectation is that everyone performs to a higher standard, but they don't,
Mm-hmm.
You got weak sauce in the private sector, you got weak sauce in the military. Anyway, during that time I was going through a lot of things in my personal life, and just trying to figure out, because when something becomes challenging to me, and when I say challenging to me relationship wise, before I look at the other person, I was looking at myself and trying to figure out, how can I become better? What am I doing wrong to make this person treat me this way, to make this person act this way? What am I doing wrong? And during that time, the unit I was with, we had a psychologist that was assigned to our unit specifically. Now she would sit in her office. You could make an appointment with us, or you could just walk in. If she don't have appointments, she would literally give you her time. Because that's why she was there, So I was talking to her. She's helping me unravel a lot of things within myself, helping me understand why I think the way I think, why I act the way I act. Helped me, and I guess the biggest way she helped me decipher books that I would read. Because I'm big on self-help. I don't like tethering myself to somebody for my development. So, and she helped me to understand and decipher the literature I was reading. And so when I was going through that, you start to realize that just maybe, you're not the problem. And when you come to the realization that you've done everything that you can to make this thing right, to make a relationship the best that it can be, and it's still turbulent, then you become heartbroken. Then you become sad. Because now you have to make a decision. Do you sacrifice this thing and burn it down, bury it, and rebuild? Or do you persevere? Do you withstand the pain? Do you endure in hopes that it'll get better? And at that time, that's where I was, at that fork in life. and so that's when I wrote it, you know. And when I wrote it, it almost was like it helped me to make a decision that put me where I am today. Because, you know, when you have a overwhelming sense of emotion and you have no outlet to balance that emotion, or you have no outlet to regulate that emotion, it will overcome you no matter how logical you are. Because you know, I consider myself to be a stoic, but the only reason why is because I've learned that, again, it's just like I told you, like, stoics aren't without emotion. It's just stoics learn to manage their emotions, and one of the biggest part to manage your emotions as a stoic is creating outlets for yourself. If it could be 1 or 100, however many outlets you need to manage, to effectively and efficiently and ethically manage your emotions, that's how many outlets you create. So when I wrote it, it was an outlet, you know. And we had been training in the desert for almost 30 days at that point. I was tired, I was cold, I was dirty. And in that moment, none of that mattered because of the heartbreak and mental anguish that I was experiencing. The physical pain I was going through, the physical discomfort, it was like, I acknowledged it, but it was always like, I was being pulled inward. And that dragon that flies around in my chest was chained to the side of a mountain. He couldn't fly free. He couldn't enjoy his freedom. He was chained to watch all the fowl and all the lesser animals fly to the sky when this beautiful, magnificent being was chained to a mountain. And he cried and cried because he couldn't break it. He couldn't break the chains. He had to make a decision. So, you know, that's why I wrote it. I was heartbroken. Yeah. That's why I wrote it.
Whew, that's deep.
Yeah.
That touched me. I feel that, you know, having something inside of you and having it chained and not being able to release it, and, you know, I feel that. And I'm glad, you know, you had writing as an outlet to release it, so you was able to capture that feeling, you know, that you were feeling at the time, so that you can always go back to that place and remember how you felt. And if you ever are feeling that way again, you know, you have something that'll pull you out of it, because, you know, you have that memory, for one. It'll never let you forget that you can come out of that, but also you have, you know, this piece that lets you know, like, hey, I can come out of that, you know.
You know the funny thing about this, right? When I write, I leave it. Thank God I had the ability to leave it on that paper. I didn't know. Well, I knew I had the poem, but I forgot what it was about until I showed you. And then when I showed you, it's like, huh, I remember that. Yeah. I remember how I felt. I remember why I was feeling that way. I remember what I was going through. You know, so you know, it's like, because I actually don't want to remember. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to remember heartbreak. I don't want to remember, you know, pain that I experienced because of a relationship I dealt with someone else. It's like almost like the pain that you can't control. You can control mental pain. You can control physical pain to an extent, but you still have some control when it comes to emotional pain. you have no control over. And to remember it and constantly experience it over and over again, it puts you in a state of helplessness. And you have nowhere to go, no matter who you talk to, no matter what you write, no matter what you drink, no matter what you smoke, snort, shoot, whatever, you won't be able to escape it. And so, and that's why I say, I thank God I'm fortunate enough that when I write about my pain, in most cases, I'm able to leave it on that paper and allow that paper to carry that burden, allow that paper to absorb that pain. So yeah. So that's not to say that some people, relive it. I'm just saying, me specifically, me personally, I didn't even know what that poem said until I showed it to you. And I was like, damn. Yeah. And all these things I'm telling you right now, all these things were buried and forgotten about until you asked me.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're so visceral right now, because I don't. When I revisit moments in my life upon request, I dive deep into them because it was something that I buried. And if somebody's asking me about it, like somebody that I'm cool with, like you, if you're asking me specifically about that thing, you're asking me for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's almost like this is my opportunity. It's not only, let you know something about me, to help you or to inform you, This is also an opportunity for me to let it go, to confront it, to conquer it, to beat it, to overcome it. Check?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
You ain't give me a pound yet, Arielle, but it's cool.
I give you a hug when we walked in.
Okay, alright. No, it's good. I don't want it. That's the kind of pain I'm talking about.
We're doing so Alright, why do you feel like this specific piece you wanted, to share with the listeners, to share with, with everybody, to leave as like your stamp on this podcast?
Because you told me, what?
You always say I told you something.
No, because I listen to people. When they talk to me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I use this piece, because you told me when I asked you. I said, "Hey, what's this season about?" You was like, "Pain." Remember, we was right there. I was sweeping.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What do you mean, pain?" Well, what kind of pain? Look, man, pain. Like, whatever you want to talk about, pain. I said, all right. And then, but you also later on, you also talked to me about things that young people hear.
Yeah.
They going wild, right? This Friday night.
Then my babies, y'all better leave them alone.
Yeah.
Max up there running.
Yeah. And so, you was talking about pain, and then you start talking about the pain that people experience, the mental pain, the physical pain. And you spoke specifically about younger people. And I believe in the youth. And the youth are our future. And what you put into them is what you're going to get out. And so I want to talk about something that not only was going to help them or help you all, but also I needed to read you something in this conversation to engage the deeper parts of myself, to give you all of myself in this moment for this specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that piece is why. Because, like I said to you, I didn't remember what it said until I showed it to you.
Yeah.
And when I read it again, it's like, yeah, I'm just going ahead and get butt naked and put it all out there. And so that's why I read this, because there's somebody out there right now. Granted, this being recorded to be released later, y'all know what I mean. There's somebody out there right now listening to this that's going through a terrible thing in their life, whether it's their work, whether it's mental, spiritual, whatever it's going to be. And right now, as they're listening to this, they don't know if they're going to make it. They don't know how they're going to make it. Things seem impossible. Things seem terrible. Things seem hard. But I will tell you this. No matter how bad things are, you always have a decision. You notice I said it in the beginning, right? I wrote this because I was at a fork in the road. I had to make a decision. And that decision, as I said, put me where I am right now, right? Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to give you all something. I wanted to give your listeners and your viewers something to not, necessarily think about me or remember me. I want to give them something that's going to make them, it's going to make you all think about you. And so, all those things that you hide and that you run away from, they become the very chains that secures your dragon to that mountain. And most people wallow in their sorrows. They throw pity parties, feel sorry for themselves. They want somebody to come save them. But the Savior is right there in you. The great architect of our universe give you all the power that you need to overcome these obstacles. Give you all the power that you need to persevere, to endure, to overcome. But you must make the decision to do it. If you don't make the decision to do it, and guess what? You ain't gonna do it. And then what happens? Well, it's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. If that didn't happen, this, I will be here. If that didn't happen, that didn't. Negative. You made a decision, and that decision put you where you are now. So I needed to read something that will put me in a mental space that would enable me to put everybody else in the same mental space that I'm in at this specific moment. To not make it about me, but to make it 100% about you all.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I chose that right there.
Yeah. And I appreciate it, being somebody, who is young and, a young adult, but also having almost daily conversations with somebody who still understands what it's like to be 25, but also has the wisdom and understanding, of what it means to be in your age group as well, and to also give wisdom and advice, like leading up to those ages and to that time in my life, because you're old a little bit, so you can tell me a little bit of stuff, like, no, but for real, like, just having somebody who can relate, but who also isn't just like, I know everything, like, listen to me, because, like, when we talk, like, it's not just like you're sitting and telling me, like, a bunch of stuff, too. Like, sometimes you asking me questions, and it's like, we go deep into conversations, and then we end up on the other side sometimes, so it's like, it's nice to have that, that figure of, like, I have all of this wisdom to unload, but also, what do you know about your times that I don't quite know, from when I was there,
Yeah.
So it's like, it's great to have that, that old person to talk to. Yeah. Yeah, but I really appreciate it because we do dive deep sometimes. Like, sometimes we just be like, hey, what's up? What you do this weekend? But then sometimes we really do, like, dive deep, like, into different matters, like, how we were talking about recently, helping out the community, kind of how we gotta gatekeep some things, almost, or how we should. Some things should just be left, in our specific community, but we'll talk about that a different day. Yeah. That might be a later series for Lex Write About It, but that'll be all for today. We won't dive into that today.
Because it will escalate quickly.
Yes, it will. Because we get real passionate when we start talking about our people and our community.
Like,
so
how we get here? It's like, listen, man, I'm just trying to talk.
Right. I'm just trying to talk. I just want to talk. Yeah. So we'll leave that for another day. But for today, I thank you for coming on and sharing, your piece, your art, a piece of yourself, and especially your reason behind it, wanting to help the younger community, help us out, drop off a piece of wisdom as you're here, you're leaving something. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate you, man. Always, you know that.
Yeah. Well, before you head out, don't forget to shout out your socials or any projects you're currently working on.
So the only social media, well, I'm on LinkedIn, Roy P. Moore on LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If I can help you, then I'll help you. Just don't throw dirt on my name when I recommend you to somebody. My other social, I have a Facebook page. I don't monitor it much. And my Instagram is RPM Fit Strong, which is my brand name. As Lex has said in the beginning, I'm a leadership, life, resilience, and fitness coach. I have posts on my Instagram page, and I've been thinking about creating weekly, what do you call those things? The videos you put on there? Reels?
Yeah, reels.
Man, I've been thinking about creating weekly reels, but it's just I don't know. I have to give it the fact that it's not being boisterous. I'm just helping people, and because I want to share my knowledge, and so I have 192 great followers right now. And it's good. No, 191, I think it is. And if I always told myself if I build more followers, then I do it. But I may just do it anyway because it's to put knowledge out there.
Yeah.
And and so I just started working, and so I don't have any projects at the moment right now that I'm working on. But you can go to my Instagram page, follow me, shoot message on there, and if you need help with something, like what you call it? It's called DM, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
See?
Alright, go ahead and DM me. Let's just say drop in the DMs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, drop in my DMs. You know what I'm saying? And I'll help you, man. Whatever you need, I'll shoot you information, workbooks, whatever, man. I got you. And I created a podcast myself. It's called What Did It Take? Where it's very similar to what Lex is doing here. Reaching out and trying to build community where a lot of my friends from back home and friends I made now, they're successful, they're entrepreneurs, they're engineers, and we talk about what did it take for them to get there. Because there are a lot of people in our community that want to be business owners, that want to be engineers, that want to work in the Pentagon, that want to join the military. They want to do a lot of things, and it's not that they lack the ability or the willingness, they lack resources and simply know-how. And so that's why I want to do, ask a bunch of successful people in our community, like, what did it take for you to get there? What were you thinking? What was your inspiration? And so just please go out. It's on Spotify, and it's on another platform, but I know it's on Spotify.
It's on Apple Podcasts as well.
Yeah, it's on Apple Podcasts as well. And so, hopefully I'll start season 2 here soon with Alexia and Arielle producing it, and then we'll get back at it and put more content out there for you all, and to not, and like I said, and just keep in mind when you listen to these things, nobody can tell you how to live your life. It's just suggestions,
Yeah.
just a suggestion. That's all it is, man. Because none of us, where we are, we weren't supposed to be here. We weren't supposed to achieve this, but here we are. Thank God. And to the best of our ability, we're going to reach back and give and pull and push and raise and lift, whatever we need to do. And so
His IG is at RPMFIT Strong, STRONG, RPM Fit Strong. You can go and follow him on Instagram, or you can follow him on Facebook at Roy P. Moore, or you can find him on or you can find him on LinkedIn at Roy P. Moore. It will also be in the description.
Yeah.
Well, Roy, I appreciate you for joining me on my podcast. I am so happy we had a chance to connect. Well, we always have a chance to connect, but I'm happy we had a chance, for listeners to hear our conversations and how we can dive deep into those, and how I can actually not be the one talking all the time, because my friends always say that I talk a lot and I'm always the one talking. So, y'all can see that I can sit and listen and take in some wisdom.
So y'all know that setup, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. She put me on here intentionally because she know I'm the guy. Like she'll start a conversation and just let me run my mouth.
I will. So
yeah.
Yes.
All right, I appreciate you and thank you.
Of
Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for allowing me to walk this journey with you. Thank you for thinking of me the way that you do. And last and sure not least, outside of you caring for our children, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your life personally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, man.
Of course. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. Ladies, gentlemen, and my non-binary peeps, you know what that sound means. It's time for listeners write about it. Today's question is brought to you by my favoriteest 6-year-old in the whole wide world, Miss Sydney Moore. Say hi, Sid.
Hi.
And Sydney, do you want to tell the people one fun fact about yourself today?
I can do a cartwheel with one hand by myself.
Ooh, that's big girl status right there. High five. Yeah. And what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue.
Ooh, I like blue too. Okay, you want to ask the people the question of the day?
The question of the day is, what's your favorite movie and why?
Y'all heard her. What is your favorite movie and why? That's a great question, Sid. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is the Teen Titans movie.
Ooh, yes, it is. We watch that movie a lot. Well, thank you so much for asking the question of the day. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Okay, high five. Peace. Well, good people, that's all for this episode and the first season of Let's Write About It. Woo! Thank you all for listening. I thank you to the amazing poets we had in both LA and Dallas. Thank you to our special guests, question askers. Thank you to every listener who subscribed, shared the podcast, commented, and participated in our growing listening community. We would love to hear some of your favorite moments from today's episode and the entire season. If you want to stay connected with all things LWABI, you can follow our Instagram at LWABI.podcast and our Facebook page at Let's Write About It. They will also be listed in the episode description. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share to keep up on all things LWABI. I am your host, Lex J, and as always, love, peace, and poetry. Until next season, I'm out!